In a dark, creepy room, a camera is recording. Jay sits crying and bleeding with a metal collar around his neck while a host's voice congratulates him for winning. Jay was told he could go home after the game, but the host announces there's one last round. 3 boxes appear, and Jay must pick one. He pulls a string to open one box, revealing a shotgun. The host thanks him for playing and pulls another string, which moves a toy that fires the shotgun, killing Jay. Meanwhile, 4 friends arrive at a summer house that used to belong to James's uncle, who ended his life after losing all his money because of his wife's bad investment. The group is there to celebrate Anita's birthday and spends the day having fun. That evening, James suggests they play Truth or Dare. Anita doesn't trust his tone and skips her turn. Melissa chooses a dare, and James tells her to kiss Anita. Melissa refuses, saying she doesn't like being objectified. James insists it's his house and he deserves some fun. Anita says she doesn't mind, so the 2 girls share a quick kiss. James then tries to kiss Melissa, but she pushes him away. Angry, he complains that they're ruining the game. Suddenly, they hear strange noises outside. Matthew says it's nothing, but the sounds keep coming. Everyone freezes, staring at the back door, then James jumps out to scare them. Anita thinks they should call the police, but James grabs a fire poker and goes to check. The others prank him by turning off the lights, forcing him to use his phone. Melissa sneaks out and screams to scare him, but then James finds something hidden in the plants. A camera with a tape. He brings it inside. Anita says it's a bad idea to watch it, and Matthew agrees. James reminds them it's his house, but Anita tells him nobody really likes him, they just hang out because of his money. She grabs the tape and destroys it. Furious, James yells and tells everyone to leave, even making cruel comments about Anita's sick mom. The group decides to stay in their rooms for the night. Later, a mysterious figure sneaks into the house. James is taking a shower when the bathroom door slowly opens. He grabs a razor, ready to fight, but it's just Melissa. She flirts with him, and he drops his towel to show off, but she laughs. It was another prank. Downstairs, Matthew cleans up the mess, not noticing a shadow moving in the next room. He spots the red light on the camera blinking, and when he turns around, the shadow is gone. After taking out the trash, he goes upstairs and finds Anita unconscious. He checks on Melissa, who's also out cold. Panicking, he calls for James, but before he can react, a masked figure injects him with something. Matthew runs downstairs looking for James but can't find him. He rushes outside and collapses. Sometime later, the 4 friends wake up chained to a wall with a camera recording them. They see their kidnapper whistling and moving things around before leaving the room. James pulls at his chain, but it doesn't move. Their attacker watches them through security cameras from another room, clearly amused. After a while, he returns, and the group finally sees the masked man, Barry, the host of this twisted game. He presses a button that tightens their chains, then starts a countdown to begin the show. Lights come on, revealing rows of mannequins made to look like an audience. As fake applause and music play, Barry introduces the 4 friends and surprises them by mentioning personal details about their lives. Barry says they'll play rock, paper, scissors, but the group is too confused to react. Annoyed, Barry calls for a commercial break and runs back to his dressing room. While getting a pair of shears from a drawer, he cuts his hand by accident. James insists this is all part of a prank or a twisted reality show. Anita disagrees, saying no real show would drug and chain them. James argues that someone set this up, and Anita reminds him he's the only one rich enough to pull something like this off. After bandaging his hand, Barry returns with the shears. He makes them play rock, paper, scissors again. The results are messy, so he decides to let the women go first. He faces Anita and says if she wins, she'll get a prize. Anita chooses paper, while Barry jokingly makes a gun shape with his hand and says, "Shoot." He admits that's not a real move, then tells her to pick between scissors or shoot. She chooses shoot. Since Melissa used paper earlier, Barry grabs a card and slices the corners of her mouth. Matthew had played rock, so Barry smashes his head with a real rock. Then he cuts off one of James's fingers with the shears. Finally, he points a gun at Anita and pulls the trigger, but instead of bullets, a small flame bursts out. Furious, he yanks her chain, slamming her against the wall and knocking her out. Hours later, Anita wakes up. The group starts arguing, with James shouting and blaming everyone. Suddenly, Barry returns and shows them a large spinning wheel of pain on the wall. The friends beg him to stop, so he offers a bonus round. If they confess to the worst thing they've ever done, they might earn freedom or die. He starts with James. When James refuses to talk, Barry hits him in the groin with a cane. In pain, James finally confesses that he caused a car crash but let his father take the blame. The person he hit died because he never called an ambulance. Barry keeps pressing him until James says the victim's name, Ashley. Next, Barry puts the cane against Anita's neck. She admits she once made an adult website to pay for her mother's surgery and deeply regrets it. Then, Matthew confesses that he scams people online and knows everything his friends have done on the internet. He once tricked an elderly couple into giving him their identity, but he lost the stolen money by accident in a blockchain transfer. Finally, Melissa reveals that the dog shelter she works for ran out of funds, so she sold some pit bulls to a dog-fighting ring, claiming they would have been put down anyway. Afterward, Barry makes Melissa spin the wheel. The result causes Barry to give her a viewfinder, which she must use to go through some pictures. If she identifies the 3 famous cities in the photographs, she wins. She correctly identifies Paris, and when she passes to the next picture, a needle starts moving closer. The same happens when she identifies New York, but she fails the 3rd one. Barry says he must punish her. However, everyone convinces him to give her another chance. Melissa uses the viewfinder again, and as soon as she presses the button, the needle stabs her eye. Everyone panics and refuses to spin the wheel, so Barry does it for James and gets his favorite. He grabs a drill and explains he should chase James around the room, but he doesn't like the guy because he talks too much. So he flips a coin and James ends up winning. Then Barry puts the drill in Anita's hand and tells her to drill Matthew's ear. If she doesn't, he'll drill Melissa and James. A countdown begins, so Anita has no choice but to drill Matthew's ear, leaving him in unbearable pain. She drops the drill when she's done and it breaks. Barry yells at her in anger and says she broke the rules before taking the tape from the camera and returning to his dressing room. He puts some tape on the videotape and writes Matthew's name before adding it to a pile of the same thing. Moments later, Barry returns to the room and announces that this round is a bit different. A screen calls the game Wild Card as he explains the rules. 1 question, everyone answers, and the highest score wins. Barry says he's asked 100 people to name the body part that aches the most and wants them to guess the answers. Matthew says head, Melissa says knees, and Anita answers stomach. James keeps trying to reach Barry to beat him up, but the chain just makes him fall. Barry freaks out, and his own answer is neck because they are all a pain in his. Next, Barry pulls out some pieces of paper with the answers. Number 1 is head, 2 is muscles, 3 is neck, and 4 is feet. Matthew points out that these answers don't add to 100, and Barry finds a last piece of paper with stomach, which is higher than muscles. This means Melissa has lost the game. After pulling the chains back, Barry activates his hydraulic press. The machine starts lowering its ram above Melissa and pokes her head, but Barry stops it. He announces a bonus round and asks the others if they want to change places with Melissa, but they refuse. After Melissa begs for her life, Barry makes the ram go again, and it cracks Melissa's head open. Afterward, Barry takes the tape away and returns to free Melissa's body while the lights flicker. He laughs as he drags the body away, leaving a trail of blood. In his dressing room, Barry takes off his mask and does to his face the same thing he did to Melissa's mouth. Other scars indicate this isn't the first time. Meanwhile, James keeps pulling his chain and hears a noise that he can't identify. At that moment, Barry comes back with a TV and plays a video of Rebecca strapped to a chair while also being tortured. Then he sits in front of Anita and takes off his mask. She says she's sorry before he puts it back on. The video then shows Barry killing Rebecca with a chainsaw. After Barry leaves the room, James says the man looks familiar. Anita suspects that Matthew knows she lied about the adult website, and he admits it, then adds that Anita used to work for the Barry Miller Show. Shocked, James blames her for everything and demands an explanation. Anita finally tells them the truth. Barry Miller was once a famous game show host, and she worked as part of his crew. One day, she and her coworkers were watching the news and learned that Barry had been cleared of all abuse charges after his victims suddenly withdrew their testimonies. Rebecca, one of her coworkers, was disgusted, while Anita wondered if Barry might actually be innocent. Jake said one of the victims had just bought a new car, suggesting that all the victims had been paid off. Rebecca pointed out that TV networks usually fired old predators to protect their image and that Barry had a bad reputation. She also said that if someone could catch him doing something wrong, they'd get a big payout. Enough money to cover Anita's mother's surgery. Anita claimed Barry had once touched her inappropriately, and because she didn't go along with it, she never got promoted. Jake accused her of lying, but their talk was interrupted when Barry himself showed up with a birthday cake for Anita, making everyone sing to her. When he touched her shoulders, Rebecca snapped and told him to stop touching women, creating an extremely awkward scene. Later, Rebecca and Jake convinced Anita to file a report with HR. The company immediately offered her a large settlement, but only if she signed a non-disclosure agreement and left quietly. Back in the present, Barry returns to the room. James begs Barry not to punish him and says Anita is the one to blame. He even offers Barry his father's money and connections to help rebuild his career. Barry pretends to be thrilled, saying maybe he can get his family and show back, then suddenly says he'll send James's head to his father instead. Next, Barry reveals the severed head of the company's lawyer and forces Anita to eat the man's tongue. Meanwhile, James keeps tugging at his chain until it finally comes loose. He attacks Barry, knocking him down and wrapping the chain around him. But Barry quickly hits a button that activates tasers hidden in the chains, electrocuting all 3 captives until they pass out. Moments later, the men wake up strapped to tables with deep, stitched scars across their stomachs. Barry announces the next game, Incision Decision. He throws a knife toward Anita and hurries back to his dressing room. Through the speakers, Barry explains that 2 keys have been surgically placed inside James's and Matthew's stomachs. Only 1 key is needed to unlock the door, but someone has to cut them open to get it. Anita refuses at first, but Barry warns he'll leave them locked up until they starve. Desperate, James offers her money if she spares him. Anita appears to approach Matthew, but at the last second, she turns to James instead. She cuts open his stomach while he screams and convulses, reaching inside until she pulls out the key. James dies moments later. Anita rushes to the door and tries to unlock it, but it doesn't open. Barry laughs through the speakers, revealing that the door is sealed shut with magnets. Last man standing wins and frees Matthew from the table. As he grabs the blade, Matthew points out that they can't both leave because there can only be one winner. He says he loves her and kisses her cheek before making her promise she'll win. Then he uses the blade to self-D. Barry congratulates Anita for winning before releasing sleeping gas in the room. When Anita wakes up, the bodies are gone and the door is open. She enters the dressing room and finds all the tapes about the victims. She also steals the card. In the bathroom, she washes all the blood off her body. In a small bedroom, there is a picture of Barry with his wife and creepy drawings on the walls. Then she walks down the corridor and finds Barry in another room offering to play one last game. A terrified Anita comes in and sits in front of 3 boxes, getting startled when he activates a confetti bomb. Anita wonders if this is all Barry is, and he answers that Barry is dead because she killed him. She offers to tell the world that she lied, but Barry doesn't react, making her wonder if he did do something. Barry freaks out and starts ranting about Anita's actions. Then he asks her to pick a box. If she doesn't, he'll kill her mother. Anita finally pulls a string to choose a box and reveals a cake inside. As Barry starts singing the happy birthday song, Anita pulls out the card and cuts Barry's face before running away. She quickly makes it outside and thinks it's finally over, only for Barry to activate the taser and bring her down. Barry explains that each of his facial scars represents a killing, so Anita has already made one for herself. Using the chain, he drags Anita back inside. He pushes her head on the cake and keeps her there for several seconds, but to her surprise, there are no hidden weapons. Barry tells her she's allowed to go and that the cake tastes terrible. Suddenly, Anita's face starts burning and her eyes turn red. She says that she can't see and yells in pain as she tries to run away again. However, she can barely move and collapses in the corridor, her body squirming until she's finally dead. Barry sits next to her and hums the theme of his show for the camera. A tape shows Barry torturing the talk show host until he admits he did abuse those women, but the company paid them off. Then, Barry kills him by hitting his head with a hammer. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.